Good Tuesday afternoon to you. I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for joining us on Sports4CLE. I'm Dave Bacon. Browns getting ready for a Monday night matchup in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger's final home game. Plenty of talk about the Browns as they get ready for that must-win game in Pittsburgh. Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com will join us a little later in the show. We begin by talking Browns as well. Some news from out at Berea. Jadeveon Clowney returned to practice today, was activated off the COVID list yesterday. Working on the side today, Myles Garrett with that groin injury, John Johnson with the hamstring, and Malik Jackson with the knee injury. Kareem Hunt and Troy Hill were not on the field during the part of the practice that was open to the media. Joel Bitonio met with the media today, talked about what it's been like the last 2 weeks for the Browns.
They've been different for sure. I think going back to last year, we got a little bit used to the COVID stuff, but with how contagious this kind of strain is and how asymptomatic a lot of guys are, it's been a little bit different. A lot of guys miss games when they feel like they could play, and you're moving around people on the offensive line, and quarterbacks are flying in the day of the game to play in a game. It was a little different. The unfortunate part is we were 2 points away in both of them, and we made enough mistakes in the game where you can look back and be like, man, we should have had those. But that's kind of this league. Every game comes down to the end, really. And, to be a good team, you got to find a way to win those close ones.
Let's welcome in Scott Petrak from the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram, as well as Brownzone.com. Scott's a beat reporter for the Browns. And Scott, Joel said it. They were a couple of points away, down a number of guys. But at the end of the day, a loss is a loss.
Yeah, I think that's what's so disappointing about the last 2 weeks is they've been able to come through, right, to get one more first down against the Raiders to end the game, to kill the clock. They make one more play against Green Bay in a tough environment on Christmas. All of a sudden, the story is the Browns' resilience and how they overcame all these guys on the COVID list. And, even Baker coming back that morning to play against Green Bay. And they're at the top of the division. But yet, because they couldn't make those two plays, and it's really reminiscent of the whole season where they haven't made, they lost so many close games. Instead, you're looking at what if, and hey, they need this, and this kind of help when, really shouldn't have gotten to that point.
Yeah, and you don't want to play the would-have, could-have, what-if game, but when you look at it, there have been two games where the Browns really haven't. They've been blown out in two games. Other than that, they either won the game or probably should have won the game. But there's something about not being able to get it done in the fourth quarter that just doesn't bode well in the NFL.
No, that's exactly right. And they've lost 6 games by 6 points or less. They weren't ahead in the fourth quarter of the Packers game, but I think they were ahead in at least 4 of the 5 other close losses, if not all 5. And a lot of focus goes on Baker for that, and rightfully so. You count on your quarterback to make plays at the end of the game, kind of elevate the guys around him, and he's been unable to do that. Now, it's not all Baker's fault, right? You can point to specific things. There should have been a penalty called on that last play in Green Bay. Jarvis Landry had, I think, 2 drops and a fumble in the fourth quarter against Pittsburgh. But, the through line is Baker, except for that Raiders game, is Baker. He's 0 for 5, and whether or not it's fair, quarterbacks get charged with that. So I think he's a big reason for it, his lack of big plays in the fourth quarter. And then it's overall team, right? You need somebody to make a play here, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, somebody. And it's just been lacking. And that's how the league works, right? The margin for error is so thin. But I think it also works. I think it's also like that when your team isn't dominant. And there's so few teams, but the Browns haven't been maybe as dominant as people hoped, so then you got to win those close games, and it just hasn't happened.
Yeah, and right or wrong, quarterback is going to get blamed more so than not. The quarterback's going to shoulder more of the blame and more of the credit probably than he deserves. Let's take a look. Baker Mayfield takes to Instagram, social media with a message. And the message that he sends out is bounce back, far from finished. And a good shot of him and Nick Harris walking down the tunnel. I'm assuming that's at Lambeau Field, but far from finished is the message. And again, it hasn't been a good year. Anybody that says anything other than Baker Mayfield has struggled this year hasn't been watching. And, you know, Scott, again, would I count him out? No. Do I think he's, you know, what do you expect the last two games?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. You know, I would expect inconsistency because that's how he's played all year long. You know, I appreciate the bounce back and far from finished. That's the right attitude to have. You know, Kevin Stefanski, when we talked to him Monday, said he thinks Baker will be better for throwing those interceptions, those 4 interceptions against the Packers, and will bounce back from that. But he needs to show it, right? He's been challenged by this organization. He was challenged at the bye by Andrew Berry saying, hey, we expect Baker to play his best football. They came out, they beat the Ravens, and then he went on the COVID list. So I don't know if that's fair to judge him off of that, you know, that based on the 5 games. It was difficult in Green Bay, obviously, the circumstances. But he's just been, you know, he's not been accurate enough. And we see that time and again, whether it's interceptions, he sails the one to Jarvis with really bad footwork and it's kind of falling backward. Or, you know, Kevin Stefanski calls the first down crossing route to David Njoku. He's open, and it's a big play. It's kind of a chunk play. You're on borderline field goal range. If you make the connection, he just misses it. And we saw that too many times in Green Bay, and we've seen it too many times all season. And I'm sure we've talked about this, Dave. That was supposed to be Baker's calling card, accuracy. And if he doesn't have that premium accuracy, I think he's 27th in the league completion percentage. If he doesn't have that, then what is his calling card? Because it's certainly not height and it's not athletic ability, right? He doesn't run like other quarterbacks, so he needs to have some special skill. I thought it'd be accuracy, and it really hasn't been.
And again, nobody's going to know. You and I, and you're closer to the team than anybody as a beat reporter. We're not going to know the severity of that injury to his left shoulder. We just won't. They're not going to come out and tell you, yeah, it was, boy, we told you it wasn't messed up. It was really messed up. He couldn't do anything. He could barely close the door when he's going. But you almost hope that injury is more serious than they're letting on, because if it isn't, then we got some real issues moving forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right about that. If you're, you know, in Baker's corner, and probably if you're the organization too, you know, I mean, he's been pretty open with what's going on, right, and how much it's bothered him and how much the other things have bothered him. It's interesting when you talk to former quarterbacks like a Kurt Warner and a Drew Brees, guys that I've talked to in the last couple of months. Some think it matters more than others, right? That the harness he's wearing is a big detriment to his accuracy, especially maybe if he turns to the left. And I think Troy Aikman was referencing that during the broadcast on Christmas. But Kurt Warner doesn't think it should be a big deal. Think he should be able to overcome that. And I believe the Browns have been open about that they feel Baker's healthy enough to play winning football. And the fact that he hasn't, I think, concerns the organization and maybe gives them pause on Baker's long-term future here. Now, I'm not saying that the injury isn't a factor at all. And that's what the organization has to figure out, is just how much of a factor, and to give him a pass on this season. But that's tough to do when you think the rest of your roster is capable of, you know, making a playoff run.
Yeah, it is a really tough spot that Andrew Berry is in, kind of deciding, is this the guy, isn't this the guy? I don't know that you can use the data from this year, and I don't know how effective it is. All right, let's get into something I know that you wanted to talk about, and that's Kevin Stefanski's play calling, especially in that Green Bay game.
Yeah, you know, I think I know he's taking a lot of criticism, you know, including John Johnson III tweeting, you know, run the darn ball. I'm not saying Stefanski was perfect in that game. And, you know, I point to the end of the first half. They come out of the 2-minute warning. They're on the Cleveland's 40-yard line. It seems like the perfect time to run the ball and not let Aaron Rodgers get another crack, not another possession in that half. And yet, out of the 2-minute warning, they run the bootleg left, and Baker throws the interception intended for Jarvis Landry. Now, looks like miscommunication. It's also probably a bad decision. Also maybe a bad throw by Baker. And all of a sudden, Rodgers has the ball back, and instead of it being, you know, Browns maybe 15-14 at half because they were trailing 14-12, it's 21-12. So I do take issue with that. But overall, I don't. You know, if you look at whatever they had, 68 play calls on offense, you know, the Browns moved the ball up and down the field. And Kevin Stefanski and his staff spotted something in that Packers defense and said, hey, we can run on them, we can throw on them, we can run screens on them. And, they only punted once. So if you only punt once, it's hard for me to blame a lot of the play calling. And you could say, hey, well, Baker threw the interceptions. You got to trust your quarterback to make some throws. So overall, I thought Stefanski did fine. And a lot of people point to the last 3 plays. And I would come back to the quarterback's got to make a play. And I don't think you could just run it from the 50-yard line and say that's how you're going to score a touchdown, especially with the rookie kicker that you don't trust. They're trying to score a touchdown. You need a chunk play or 2. And the Njoku was open and Baker just missed him. And then the second down play call was a screen. There was a good design and the guy for the Packers made a good play and got a hand on the ball. I really don't blame Kevin Stefanski. I understand why people do. And it's give the ball to Chubb. But you need to throw the ball in this league, number one. And number 2, the same people are saying give it to Chubb. We're complaining the week before when they threw on 3rd and 3 with your third-string quarterback. When they ran on 3rd and 3 and you had a third-string quarterback.
I agree wholeheartedly. That questioning the play calling is an easy thing to do in hindsight because it's never the right call when it doesn't work out. Doesn't matter what it is. We're with you 100% of the time when it works out.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think as a play caller, if guys are open, right, that's about all you can do, and they were running it well. I mean, I get the sentiment. Hey, you're running at 8 yards a carry. But Chubb on that drive went 4, 10, and 4. Well, if you have 2 straight 4s, you got to take timeouts. You still got to convert a 3rd down. Like, you need a chunk play there, and you're going to get it most likely in the passing game, and your quarterback made a bad throw.
And you're going to get that chunk play, and the opportunity is going to be there because of how well Nick Chubb ran. So everything is interrelated. So, and again, it's a play calling is an art, and it's a no-win situation when it doesn't work out. Scott Petrak and I are going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We will continue talking Browns, getting ready for a must-win Monday night affair with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll take a look at the AFC North, hear from Joel Bitonio about where the Browns stand. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions, lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Browns getting ready to face the Pittsburgh Steelers Monday night in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger's likely his final home game as a Steeler. Harry Douglas, former wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, among another team or two in the NFL, had this to say about where the Browns are relative to the quarterback position.
If Cleveland's in win now mode, you don't worry about giving up a first-round draft pick for Derek Carr, right? Because you have the roster to win now. Right, and that's basically what we've seen the Los Angeles Rams do. They said, "The hell with these draft picks and all this. We're in win now mode. We got to win at this juncture in our season, in our organization's career. We got to win now." And I think the Cleveland Browns, if you have to give up a first-round draft pick to get another quarterback, a quarterback that will upgrade over Baker Mayfield, I think it's a no-brainer. You have no hesitation in doing so.
Let's welcome back in Scott Petrak. And Scott, I'm not sure the Browns view themselves as in win now mode. I think they can win, but I don't think the clock is ticking yet in their minds.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know they have a short-term and a long-term plan, but I do think the window's open right now. I'm not saying it closes a year from now, but I do think it's open now, and I'm sure they would hesitate, right? We know they value draft picks. But if the right quarterback came open, I do think the Browns would be willing to do what Douglas just said, and that's give up a first-round pick. If it's the guy is a definite upgrade over Bacon, right? And we hear a lot of names circulated. You got to decide if you really feel that guy is an upgrade, and he's going to be an upgrade. But the defense is really starting to round into form. You feel like the defense, I don't know if it's championship caliber, but I think it's certainly playoff caliber. You got a big-time offensive line. You got the running game we've talked about a million times. Like it feels like this team is pretty close, and I think the depth has shown up the last couple of weeks. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to say that if you had the right quarterback, that this team could be a Super Bowl favorite / contender.
The one thing I would say is they need to upgrade the wide receiver position. I think, myself included, I think everybody thought the wide receivers were going to be a whole lot better than they are. And I don't think Jarvis Landry is anywhere near 100% at this point, even on his, the MCL that he's been playing on. I'm guessing he's about 85%, I would think.
Yeah.
Just a gut feeling on my part.
But I think that's a fair assessment overall about the receivers, right? The OBJ thing didn't work out, and then everybody else feels kind of mis-slotted in their roles. Jarvis is a 1, Peoples-Jones is a 2. And it feels like you need one more big-time guy. And if they don't make a trade, then sure, can they draft a guy in the first round or second round that's a receiver? I would think that would certainly a possibility. But, you can get to the Super Bowl without a stud receiver, right? It's the quarterback really matters more.
Yeah, agreed. Joel Bitonio talked about the AFC North as it stands right now with it's wide open.
It's been really up and down. I think early in the year you saw, Cincinnati get off to a good start, then the Ravens really, made a push midseason, but then like COVID and injuries to really every team in the AFC North has been a detriment. And it's tough. It's always a tough division. It's always hard to win it. And looking at it now, it's going to come down to the wire again. And we'll probably have 4 teams right around 500 or a little bit better. No really bottom teams, and no team that's going to win 13 games this year. I do think it's a testament to like the toughness the division is and how tough each game is when you play within division. But also, a lot of our teams have, given games away, and, you're going to look back on the season, a team that doesn't make the playoffs, you're going to be like, man, we had 2 or 3 games that we really, threw away. And I think that just shows how important every game is in the NFL. But, hey, they once you get in the playoffs, they don't care what your record is. So hopefully we can, start to handle our business this week and really go from there.
And Scott, when you look at it, the Browns gave away a couple of games to teams that are likely playoff contenders, deep playoff. Chiefs game, I think they gave away. You can say the Ravens game, the first one. There are a number of them against decent teams.
Sure. The Chargers game, right? The Steelers game. I feel like they should have won that. But Joel's right. It's an interesting year for the division because for so long there was the Browns at the bottom, or if the Browns weren't at the bottom, Cincinnati was at the bottom. And it doesn't feel like there just isn't that bottom feeder that you can count on winning games against. Cincinnati is probably the most talented team, at least offensively, with Joe Burrow and that group of receivers and the running back he has. They had issues on the offensive line. I was super impressed with what Baltimore did for about 13 weeks. And then I just think they ran out of bodies. Lamar's injury against the Browns a couple of weeks ago really hurt them because he gives them a chance against anybody. But without him and then Huntley's out, it just made it like nearly impossible for Baltimore to win. But I was impressed at how they fought through all the injuries for the first, 2/3, 3/4 of the season. And then Pittsburgh's the same way. Pittsburgh fought through a lot of, I think everybody's written them off. And then they kept showing up, and they beat Tennessee a couple of weeks ago, which seemed like a surprise. So it is a division that's wide open, which is why, if the Browns miss out, there's so much more reason to kick yourself, because all you had to do is maybe get to 10 wins and you'd be able to win that division. And that hasn't been the case so many times. You needed 12 or 13, and this one was there. And if the Browns aren't able to take it, that's extra frustrating because they haven't won the division yet.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity without question. Well, Denzel Ward was selected to his second Pro Bowl. He talked about the honor and why he's different than the first time he made it as a rookie.
Yeah, it meant a lot. Just much credit to my coaches, my teammates, and my family. Everybody played a big role in helping me get back to the Pro Bowl since my rookie year. So it means a lot, and I'm looking forward to represent Cleveland and participate in the games and everything that comes along with the Pro Bowl. I thought I was definitely a smarter player. I definitely feel I changed my body from my rookie season to now, gained some weight, put on a lot of muscle, and just trying to find a way to come in and help my team get better. But I feel I definitely made some changes to improve myself for this season that we just had.
And Scott, I don't know about you. I thought he got out to a little bit of a slow start there. Early in the season, I thought it was like, wow, he's kind of getting beat. And then, boy, after about the third or fourth week, he was lights out, especially against the Bengals in that first game against what we had mentioned, talented wide receiving core. He pretty much shut him down.
Yeah, and Joe Woods, the coordinator, thought that Denzel was trying too hard at the beginning, kind of getting out of his technique and out of the scheme, trying to make when things happen. Denzel fights back on that a little bit. But I'm with you. I think he's played better as the season's gone on. I think he's certainly a Pro Bowler. We talk about Baker probably not getting that extension. At least right now, we wouldn't think he would. But Denzel has earned his extension, right? He's entering that fifth year. They picked up the fifth-year option. I think you extend him long-term. He wants to be here. He plays well every year. I mean, he's a legitimate number one corner in this league, a legitimate Pro Bowl guy. And you need those in today's NFL. And you saw him, not that he shut down Davante Adams, but he was close. Like, there were a couple of plays where he got his hand on the ball in the end zone. Adams was not able to come down with the catch. Like, I don't think he shrinks from those kind of matchups. Now, you can argue that, hey, maybe he should be on Davante Adams every snap. And Joe Woods has not gotten there yet with Denzel, but maybe that will be a 2022 thing. But, yeah, I mean, I think Denzel's been outstanding. And I'm working on a story kind of like the defense has gotten better throughout the year. And, Denzel, I think, was ahead of the defense in his progression, but kind of helped the defense get to where it's been playing these last, 5-6 weeks.
Yeah, that kind of leads me into the next question. How impressive, really, since the Patriots game when they gave up 45. And a couple games before that, you could kind of see it coming. But how impressed have you been with the way the defense has played?
Yeah, really impressed. I mean, they gave him a chance to win the last two games, right? When the offense was 14 points against the Raiders, and the Raiders weren't missing. I mean, they were missing Darren Waller, but they still had Derek Carr. They still had Hunter Renfrow. They had Josh Jacobs. Like, the Raiders had guys, and the Browns held them to 16 points. Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams, and you hold them to 22 or 24 in Green Bay. Like, that should get it done. I didn't think the Browns could hold them to under 27, and they had a chance to win the game. They held them to a field goal in the second half. So, and all the touchdowns came after Baker interceptions. So, I've been really impressed. Joe Woods, I know he received a lot of criticism early in the year, and I haven't seen him get praised like probably he should. If you're going to rip a guy when the defense struggles, you need to praise the guy when the defense does well. And he's done it with guys missing, right? They had no Clowney. They had, Miles playing through the groin, no Takk McKinley, no Malik McDowell, no Jordan Elliott, no Greg Newsome. I mean, you go down the list, right? Missing safeties. And they still have been able to limit the opponent, which is scoring, which is the number one job. So, yeah, I mean, they're kind of trying to carry this team to the playoffs, but the offense just hasn't done its share to get them.
Yeah, without question, Joe Woods deserves some praise for the way his defense is playing. Scott Petrak and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We will continue talking Browns. We head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. When we return, we'll also take a look at what needs to happen for the Browns to set up that AFC North matchup for the division title against the Bengals Week 18. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a line. A long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just a mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. Browns Steelers getting ready to play Monday night in Pittsburgh. Time to head to the voicemail of truth and reason. This one about the Browns team as a whole.
Mayfield has really, he's got happy feet and one read. He just can't read the defense. And secondly, somebody said that they got what it takes to win these close games, in a matter of speaking, because they lost 6 games by 6 points or less. Well, they don't have what it takes. If they did, they would have won at least maybe 3 or 4 of these games. And another thing too, they need to do something as far as their defensive coordinator is concerned. And I've never been a big fan of his because he plays that passive defense, and they can't win like that. Well, have a happy New Year. Talk to you next year. Bye-bye.
As always, we appreciate the call. I think some of the passive defense the last couple of weeks is from what we were talking about in the other segment. Scott, you can't be terribly aggressive when you're down to your 4th safety and your second corner. Really, you're on your 3rd corner, your 4th, 5th, and 6th safety. Guys are coming up off the practice squad. You can't be as aggressive as you'd like to be. I would like to see him be more aggressive, but taking a shot at the defensive coordinator right now, that's really misplaced.
I agree with that. I agree with everything you said, Dave. I think part of the conservatism throughout the year is just a coaching philosophy. You don't see the Browns do a lot on special teams, right? There's no fakes. I don't know if they go all out to block it a bunch. I just think Kevin Stefanski believes in kind of conservative style, and you run the ball a bunch and you don't turn it over. And if you're going to play that way on offense, then you can't give up 70-yard touchdowns on defense. It just doesn't fit. So, I don't blame Joe Woods for that. And I think his unit has gotten better throughout the season. And, I wouldn't have said that, week 6 or 7, but I feel like it's really come into form under him.
Yeah. And again, as you pointed out, there's some guys that are missing that, that would add to that defense and make it even tougher. All right. So for the Browns to set up that game against Cincinnati, Week 18, that would be a winner-take-all for the AFC North. The Chiefs need to beat the Bengals in Cincinnati. Chiefs are currently 5-point favorites in that game. The Rams need to beat the Ravens in Baltimore. Rams are currently 3.5-point favorites in that game. Browns need to beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh. Browns are currently 3.5-point favorites in that game. What are you most confident to least confident of those 3 happening?
Yeah, that's such a tough question. I mean, if Las Vegas has them is all the same or close enough, then it's tough for me to feel a lot different. I would like to say the Browns, but, I do think there's something to be said for Big Ben's final game at Heinz Field, probably, and what that's going to do to the Steelers. I know how bad they looked against Kansas City, but we've seen them bounce back before. You watch Joe Burrow play against the Ravens last week, and you think, man, they can score points with anybody. So I would still probably say the Chiefs over the Bengals, which is the most important thing for the Browns to happen first, right? That happened Sunday. The Browns play Monday. Even if the Ravens beat the Rams, they could still lose to Pittsburgh in the final week, and the Browns could win the division. So it starts with Kansas City, and I probably feel best about that. But, I mean, we could see a game that's 48-45.
Yeah, I would. You just never know with those two offenses. If you're absolutely right. Look at what Cincinnati's offense did. And the other thing I would say about the Ravens is if Lamar Jackson plays, like we talked about earlier, anytime Lamar Jackson is on the field and he's near 100%, the Ravens have a chance to win that game. I do think if the Browns go and play the way they're capable of playing, they win the game in Pittsburgh. Are they going to do that? Your guess is as good as mine on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. Baker would need to play better. You have to bring up Baker because he's coming off that game. And the fact is, all these teams have been really inconsistent. The Chiefs has probably been most consistent over the last whatever their streak is now, 6 or 7 games. The defense has played much better after that bad start. Cincinnati's been all over the place. We know Pittsburgh's been up and down, the Browns, Baltimore, we talked about their injuries. I'd like to think that if it broke the Browns' way on Sunday with the Chiefs and the Rams winning, that they would really come out and play their best game of the year Monday night, right? Everybody watching, but you control your destiny. All you have to do is win 2 games, and the last one's at home. It's a wounded Steelers team. Then you'd like to think that you get the Browns' best effort, and it proves to be a win. But they just haven't played well enough, consistently enough, to give me that much confidence in them.
Yeah, I would agree wholeheartedly. And the other thing is the Rams throw the ball well, and that Ravens secondary is beat up. So Matthew Stafford could very well have a big game. But as you pointed out, the thing that has to happen is the Chiefs have to beat the Bengals. If the Bengals win, that in essence eliminates the Browns from the AFC North as it is now title.
I think it eliminates everybody else. I think the Bengals would clinch the division.
Yeah, based on their divisional record in the head-to-heads, yeah. Yep. Scott Petrak and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we'll head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, take a deeper look at the Browns getting ready for the Steelers in Pittsburgh on Monday night. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to OhioLottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
Thanks for buying a fishing license. I want you to picture all the great things this simple purchase does. Like building public boat ramps, keeping local waters clean, and maintaining a healthy fish population.
What's Mom doing?
When you buy a fishing license, you do a lot. Every dollar protects and maintains your local waterways for future generations to enjoy. Visit takemefishing.org.
We continue talking Browns, getting ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers Monday night, Heinz Field, Ben Roethlisberger's final home game as a Steeler in all likelihood. Time to head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. This one about Baker Mayfield.
Hello. My question is about Baker. What a surprise. It has to do with, can we afford him? So, in other words, do you want to sign people like Clowney and Ward and all the free agents we brought in last year, who I believe have 1-year contracts? Do we want a quarterback who is, okay, but is going to cost us, around $40 million a year, perhaps? Or do we want to sign like, the rest of the team?
And Scott, I think there's a price that they would extend Baker at. I think it's significantly lower than $40 million a year. I would have said mid-30s, might be even lower than that. So Baker might play the waiting game, if they decide they're going to move forward.
Yeah, Dave, that's an interesting point. I'm not sure there is a price right now that they would lock him in long term. I could be wrong on that. I get the feeling you want to see more from Baker, just given the inconsistency of his career. And like we talked about, not knowing exactly how much the injuries played a role in this season. The 18 point whatever it is for next year, you can live with Baker obviously there, right? That's a cheap quarterback contract. Before the season, I would have said, hey, yeah, you can afford to pay him $40 million because that's the going rate for a franchise quarterback, right? Josh Allen, Lamar is going to sign that kind of contract. That's what you have to pay your guy. Even if he's not a top 5 guy, if you trust that he's your future guy, your future franchise quarterback, that's what you pay him. And then you live with it. But, through whatever, 16, 15 games, I'm not convinced like I was before the season that Baker is that guy. So then it makes me question all the dollar numbers and whether or not the Browns should commit to him beyond 2022.
And the thing is committing long term, you don't really have to do that. You can always franchise them and you can push that down the road. But what you can't do is necessarily get out of a bad long-term contract. That's why before you commit that kind of money, you got to be darn sure you're right.
Yeah, that's a great point with the franchise tag. They do have control. And, we know they have the 5th-year option next season. It just, for me, goes to show how much, and maybe it's just my perception, but I would think the Browns are somewhere along this, that before the season, I thought it was a done deal, that he was going to get a contract and it was going to be big money and he was going to be your guy for the next X number of years. And I'm just not sure about that anymore. And I would think the team is having the same doubts, which means you start to think about options. You start to think about, okay, maybe we can franchise tag him, which is interesting because given how he finished last year, it felt like everything was pointing toward Baker really cementing himself as the long-term guy. And now I think there's way more questions.
Yeah, again, that NFL sometimes stands for not for long. So, the more you're around it, the more you understand what people mean by that. All right, let's turn our attention to the Browns-Steelers game. When you look at this, obviously they can't turn the ball over 4 times. What do the Browns need to do to come away with a win?
Yeah, I think defensively you need to pressure Ben, right? Because he doesn't scramble anymore and he stands in the pocket. Their line has been an issue all year long. If you can get to Ben, he'll either go down or get it out of his hand super fast. And then you need to take away those deep shots. He had a couple against Kansas City. It didn't do him any good, but he still has that capability of throwing those go routes to Deontay Johnson or catching him on a slant and he goes the distance. Like, those are the things you have to worry about because I just don't think the Steelers are built to go on a bunch of 8-10 play drives. I think Ben wants to beat you with a shot, and then they hope they hang on with their defense. And then you got to figure out, how not to let T.J. Watt wreck the game because he's certainly capable of doing that and creating those turnovers. But it feels like the Steelers aren't going to score a bunch, so you just have to score enough. And like you said, don't turn the ball over to give them short fields.
When you look at the offense, Steelers defense is pretty good. What are some of the areas you think the Browns look to exploit with the ball in their hand offensively?
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure out a way to block TJ so you put a second guy over there or whatever. The interesting thing for me is we talk so much about the Browns run game, and Pittsburgh has been good against the Browns, plenty of times. Even with Nick Chubb, they put those 5 guys across the front and they kind of make you it's just tougher to run the outside stuff you like. So I think they're going to have to figure out a way to make it work on the ground and maybe come up with something a little different scheme-wise. And then I think you can throw on their corners. You know, I mean, Joe Hayden likes to gamble. You can beat him on double moves. We've seen that throughout his career. Now, if you throw it in front of him, he's going to come up and tackle you. That's what he does well. And if you tip a ball, he's going to go get it, right? They play some zone. But I think there's a chance to beat him deep as long as, you know, you distract Minkah Fitzpatrick, right? Make him look somewhere else and then take a shot to the other side of the field.
Scott Petrak, Browns beat reporter for the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram. You can also read him, brownzone.com. Scott, as always, man, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, Scott Petrak again. Read him in the pages of the Elyria Chronicle-Telegram as well as brownzone.com. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out on the other side of the break. More Browns Steelers. We will take a look at what the Browns should do quarterback-wise. A national perspective on that moving forward for the Browns at quarterback. Plus, Joel Bitonio weighs in on Baker Mayfield. Sports for CLE. Be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine and too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students, kindergarten through 12th grade, can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine.
I am powerful beyond my wildest imagination.
I will define my future.
I will keep challenging myself to improve.
Because I am a future leader of this great nation.
I will be responsible for raising a beautiful family.
And educating not only my generation, but many more to come.
I will make a difference in my community.
And I will stand up for what I believe in.
I will not settle for simply chasing my dreams. I will achieve them.
Because I was given a chance.
An opportunity.
A home.
At Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
The ultimate leadership experience.
FCCLA has been one of the greatest experiences of my life.
It's made me who I am today.
Join us. We'll build a new future together.
Browns with a Monday night game against the Steelers need to win that to keep their AFC playoff hopes alive in the AFC North. Courtesy of ESPN's KJM, what should the Browns do with quarterback position moving forward?
Their defense is not bad. You know, they've got guys on that side of the ball that can do enough to win football games right now if you had better quarterback play. So who does the guy become? And who are you looking at? If I'm Cleveland, I am looking long and hard at trying to figure out if I can pry Derek Carr away from the Raiders, who only has 1 year left on his deal. If the Raiders are going to be looking to go in another direction, Harry, he's only making $19.8 next year.
Yeah.
And if I had to give away a first-round pick to get Derek Carr, and I felt like I had a chance to win, Derek Carr, with the Cleveland Browns, he absolutely can win there.
Yeah, I'll say Derek Carr, and not just him. I'll say Kirk Cousins as well. And I understand Kirk Cousins has had his struggles in the National Football League, but Kevin Stefanski, their head coach and guy who calls their plays, he's very familiar with Kirk Cousins, and I think Kirk Cousins would be a major upgrade over Baker Mayfield because you got to look at it. They have the pieces in place with this football team with the Cleveland Browns. Defensively, offensively, they have everything in place. Right now, they just need great quarterback play or a decent quarterback play.
Let's welcome in Tim Bielik, reporter for the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com. And Tim, Carr, Cousins, meh. I'm not excited. I'm not jumping up and down about them. Are they an upgrade? Maybe over the way Baker's playing currently?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys in the NFL that are upgrade over this Baker Mayfield. And when I say this Baker Mayfield, I'm talking about the Baker Mayfield where he's wearing a harness on his left shoulder that's restricting the motion in that arm and his ability to throw with good mechanics. And when you don't have good mechanics as a quarterback, it's really hard to succeed unless you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes. But I've been a believer that, what's going on with Baker has a lot to do with that shoulder. I know it's not necessarily causing him pain, but it's also affecting him mechanically. And the reason he keeps playing is because the Browns clearly still believe he gives the team the best chance to win, which makes a lot of sense. I know Case Keenum played the Denver game. He won, but he wasn't particularly impressive in that game. Baker still has a high ceiling, but those injuries and just so many factors around him where really the operation has never been together for more than a half of football this entire season, all that stuff kind of comes together. And it's easy to say the quarterback is supposed to overcome all that, but sometimes there's just too much to overcome. And we got to remember, Baker Mayfield is only in his 4th season in the NFL. This isn't like a 12-year veteran or whatever. He's still kind of getting his feet wet in, NFL career terms.
Well, and when you point to Kirk Cousins, there's, Adam Thielen, Justin Jefferson. I don't see anybody in the Browns receiving corps that's the equivalent of either one of those two.
Not even close. And I think that's where, he's got to get some help. I mean, I've said before, even the best quarterbacks need help. And that's what I think this offseason's got to be directed to, is getting Baker healthy and giving him some weapons that are legitimate and can help elevate any quarterback. Because there was talk not long ago that Kirk Cousins was a very meh quarterback as well. And then all of a sudden you give him Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. He looks really good. Great receivers really help a quarterback as much as anybody does, I think.
All right, so CBS Sports, one thing we learned about the Browns, and this one is that Kevin Stefanski needs to wake up in regards to Baker Mayfield. He stayed committed to number 6 earlier this year. QB was limping through bad outings, inexplicably kept dialing up passes on an awful night for Mayfield in Green Bay. Perhaps there's a point to that one as far as asking him to do some things that maybe you shouldn't be asking him to do.
Right, and I wrote about this morning in our Football Insider newsletter that I think Mayfield's pressing. I really believe, particularly when you see that second interception where he's falling backwards, kind of throwing off his back foot, and he well overthrows, I believe it was Jarvis Landry. That tells me he's pressing. And I mean, he's got all the reason in the world to be pressing right now. There's so much pressure on him, but I think he's creating pressure on himself. He's worried so much about his protection. He knows his receivers haven't played well. So maybe he's putting extra pressure on himself that doesn't need to be there. And I mean, I said it, playing quarterback in the NFL is hard enough. When you add pressure that doesn't even feel like it's there, that is, making a job much harder than it needs to be. So I think when it comes to the Stefanski-Mayfield relationship, I think at least in the next 2 games, Stefanski needs to try and find a way to settle Baker down, to get him to relax a little bit more, in the famous words of Aaron Rodgers. Try to not get him to play outside of himself right now and just focus on simple things, just finding the open guy, being mechanically sound as best he can be in these final 2 games or 3 games if they make the playoffs, and just don't try to play hero ball. Because I feel like Saturday, and a lot of times, especially in that final series from that first down where he missed Njoku to the interception, that felt like hero ball. And when you're banged up as much as Baker is, hero ball is the last thing you should be doing.
So Joel Bitonio talked to the media today, and he talked about Baker Mayfield and what he's been like this week since that tough outing against Packers.
Yeah, we had a good practice today, and we started our prep on Pitt. But this morning we watched the Green Bay film, and we went over it. And it's never, when you have a tough game, it's never fun to watch the film. But guys learn from it, and you learn from those mistakes. And honestly, like, Baker was in one of the tough situations to be in. You know what I mean? He had COVID. He was on it for the full length of time. He didn't get a chance to throw a ball and practice with the guys and stuff, but the ultimate competitor came out in him and he said, I'm going to get there. I'm going to play in this game. And, as a teammate of his, like, you can never question how tough he is or his want to, or his ability to, play when maybe he shouldn't be playing injury wise or other situations. And it's one of the things I respect him on, but his confidence this week, I don't think has changed. And I think, they're telling us there's a chance to win this division. So we're going to go out there and give it our best shot.
So Tim, let me go into this. What did you think of the play calling against Green Bay? I thought it was pretty good, except for would have done it differently, obviously, in that last drive.
Yeah, I didn't have an issue with it. Again, it comes down to execution. And like I was saying earlier, I think Baker pressing way too much instead of just, doing what, he just needs to do, just keeping things simple and not trying to be a hero. Because, all he needs to do is be that distributor player that we saw, in his rookie season, we saw throughout 2020. It seemed like instead of trying to force the ball, like it seemed like he was doing with a couple of those interceptions on Saturday. Kevin Stefanski certainly did a good job. He got creative, especially with the run game. I love some of the reverses to Anthony Schwartz. Some of the screen calls worked out, some good decisions. And, in spite of the 4 picks, Baker still had some good throws. He still threw 2 touchdowns. In considering they still had a chance to win in spite of all that, you can say what you will about the 4th interception, the penalty or whatever, but I think Kevin Stefanski did what he could to really get Baker going. And, like Joel Bitonio alluded to, he pretty much hadn't practiced with the team in 2 weeks. I doubt he threw a football really. And, all things considered, maybe that's why there was pressure on him. And maybe it's just a case of, settling down after a week. But Stefanski, I thought last week did his job and gave his team a shot to win.
Yeah, and again, the whole play calling thing late in the game when you're trying to get a field goal or a touchdown to win it, you're always going to be second guessed. If you're right, you made the right call. If you end up winning, you made the right call. If you didn't, you made the wrong call. It doesn't matter what call you make. If you win, it's the right call. If you don't, it's the wrong call.
Absolutely. That's just the blessing and the curse of being a play caller in the NFL.
Tim Bielik from the Plain Dealer and cleveland.com and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. On the other side of the break, we will continue to talk Browns. We'll hear from Denzel Ward. He's played really well after a slow start to the year. We'll also look ahead more in-depth towards the Browns-Steelers matchup. Sports4CLE, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Back to new friends, new classroom, and learning new things. Back to wearing shoes, man, like real shoes. Back to rushing to class. Back to having questions. Lots of questions. Back to vending machine dinners. Back to too much caffeine, too late at night, but feeling like it was a night well spent. Back to pursuing your dreams and taking control of your future. Come back to go forward. Try C, where futures begin.
When it comes to selling you a mattress, most retailers are handing you a long line of extra steps that drive up costs and create confusion. At the Original Mattress Factory, we simplify the mattress shopping experience by building mattresses and box springs in our own local factories and selling them direct to you. It's short, sweet, and simply makes sense. So experience more than just the mattress store. Experience an original, the Original Mattress Factory.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at casaforchildren.org.
Browns getting ready for the Steelers Monday night in Pittsburgh. Ben Roethlisberger's final home game as a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Well, Denzel Ward met with media today and talked about the way he has improved after what was a slow start to this season.
I think it depends on what you compare it to when you say I was off to a slow start. I mean, I haven't really given up too much out there on the field, like yards or anything or touchdowns. So, I mean, it depends on what you compare it to. But I feel I definitely picked it up throughout the season and raised my play. But, yeah, I mean, those guys, Coach Woods, all those guys, they challenged me. And I appreciate that. I accept the challenges that they bring to me. And I just try to go out there and be the best player I can for this team.
And, Tim, he's earned that Pro Bowl. And again, I think he started a little slow. There were a couple games where it was like, that's on that completion's on Denzel. That one's on Denzel too. And really, since the third, fourth game of the year, he's been really good.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, imagine where where the defense would be if Denzel wasn't Denzel right now, especially, as they were getting settled into the first few weeks of the season. But, the way he's played of late, especially, considering the way Greg Newsome has played as a rookie, the growth Greedy Williams has made, with Ward being a legitimate number one and playing like, and, just not just a guy who can take the receiver away, but can also, get some turnovers and really take a good portion of the field away. Now, all of a sudden, you have three corners you can really structure a defense around. That there are guys that you can pretty much leave in situations where you don't have to worry about needing to necessarily give them extra, help unless they're playing a guy like Devontae Adams or, another elite receiver. Ward's shown he's more than good enough to hold his own and cover and is one of the best guys at his position, clearly.
All right, so what are some of the keys as the Browns get ready to face the Steelers, a game they obviously have to win?
I think defensively, it comes down to how those corners play because, Ben Roethlisberger is going to give his receivers shots in one-on-one plays. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool are two outstanding receivers. They're going to need both their guys to really be on point, all their corners to be on point and really handling those guys. Same thing with, coming up with a plan to cover Pat Freiermuth. I mean, he had that game-winning touchdown back in Cleveland, so he's a guy you got to really watch out for as well. And when it comes to the offense, I mean, it's weird to see a Steelers team that is in the bottom of the league right now in rush defense. I mean, they gave up about 200 yards to a Titans team a couple weeks ago that didn't have Derrick Henry. And then you had Nick Chubb, you have Dearness Johnson, who just came off a very good game against the Packers on Saturday. This is a game where I think you can lean on the run, where play action should be very effective. I mean, I see plenty of opportunities for points for the Browns, especially if, Baker could stay composed, stay within himself, and not try to be, too much of a hero ball player. I think that's where the Browns can certainly take advantage of things. Obviously, the Steelers should be playing off a lot of emotion with this potentially being Roethlisberger's last home game. But, I mean, don't underestimate the fact that the Browns are getting a lot of these guys back from the COVID list, that they know they need to win out and get help from, the Ravens losing another game and the Bengals losing on Sunday before, that Week 17 matchup. So they know that if they're given a shot, that this is their last chance. And if they win out and the Bengals and Ravens lose, they're in the playoffs. And despite all the problems they've had, they can still get to the playoffs and it'd be a pretty successful season. But if they don't win Monday night, it's over.
Tim Bielik from The Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. Tim, as always, appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much.
Got it. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good week.
You too. Tim Bielik. Again, you can read him in the pages of The Plain Dealer, as well as cleveland.com. That'll do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will be back here tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Scheduled guest, Browns beat reporter from The Plain Dealer and cleveland.com, Mary Kay Cabot, as well as Ashley Bastock. That is tomorrow at 4 o'clock back here on Sports for CLE. We'll see you then. Have a great night, everybody.